Morning. Able to be on the porch again today. Hooray. You might still hear a little construction noise from the front. Giant Rider Waite row is what we'll use for today's reading. Today is July 24th. Welcome. Welcome to the day, and you're welcome to wake up to the new day every time you blink your eyes. Think about that. All right, so the cards are upright. Like, share, subscribe. Any interactions, any viewing gets the messages in front of people that you don't even know. And that's the way that we can hold hands with one another as we walk through this beautiful life. So yes, this message is for the collective. If you want your own private reading, just direct message me on any of the platforms where you see this, and I will make a time with you. Queen of Cups. Just love this deck. It's just so big. Queen of Cups. Hey, Queen of Cups. The Magician. We got three that fell out. So we have the the Five of Swords again, the Tower, and the Nine of Swords. So these came out together, along with the Queen of Cups and the Magician. So, interesting. So these guys coming out together. So it's basically the option of being in a loving and creative, super creative way of, this is kind of a riff and an expansion on what was offered yesterday. It's, the old frameworks and the old thought processes, the way we approach conflict, the way we perceive something as being, is it a confrontation or is it a conflict? And either way, it can always turn into a conversation. You know what I mean? There are three different ways. So, there are pros and there are cons, but we can turn any kind of conflict or confrontation or confusion into a conversation. And that's a way of using swords skillfully, right? Rather than everything being this Ten of Swords things or layering on all of these assumptions. In the middle of the night, we're basically we think we're by ourselves, but if you look up and you anchor on a higher wisdom, which is another skillful way of using thoughts. Thoughts are wisdom. Thoughts are logic. It's how we strategize and figure things out. If we can approach things in more of a magical kind of way, in a more playful way, in a creative way, more of a puzzle, then we were working with one another, and as opposed to seeing one another as enemies and everything is the enemy, and using our thoughts as a way of keeping from actually engaging with the heart space that we want to be engaging in that compassionate, loving, nurturing way, both for ourselves and for the people around us. We're creating, we end up using our thoughts in a way that layers all these assumptions on. So even going into a situation is so anxiety producing that we don't want to do it, or we go in very abrasively and we create these tower moments, and you know and then everything is falling apart, rather than we assume everything is going to fall apart from go. So instead, let's bring in, this is a response to the energy that came up in the cards yesterday. Can we turn the confusion, the conflict, the confrontation into a conversation? And that's a way of using communication, learning to be better, and to be, again, willing to be maybe a little less elegant and a little less magical than we'd like to be. Maybe even instead of like looking, layering all these assumptions on situations that turn them into basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. Imagine, make a little magic and come into that situation with compassion. Remembering that everybody's going through something. Everybody comes to stuff with their own history. And if we can come to that with loving eyes, right? Loving eyes, loving heart, coming forward, allowing, imagine how you want to be. Like if you saw it, imagine that the other part of a situation of being in a very hurt, place of needing help. But doesn't mean we need to be a doormat, right? We don't need to be a doormat. Like that's not good, because that kind of stuff is just going to that's never going to go well. That's not going to go down well. You end up in that tower moment, right? Or in that Ten of Swords place, because you're people pleasing and you're not keeping you're not addressing your own needs in the situation. So assume that assume that you don't have all the information, that there's some missing information that's kind of driving you crazy, and that go toward it with a fresh eye. Dissolve the tower, dissolve the barriers, dissolve the walls, so that fresh perspectives can break through. So we can have, from a breakdown, we can have a breakthrough. But that takes love in the mix. That might take more creativity than you think you're capable of. But if, again, we raise our hands and we reach for being in royalty, realizing that, so now we have the Queen of Cups instead of the Empress, but realizing that we're all held by the universe. If we raise our hand to the universe, raise up, ask for help, pull down that higher wisdom for a more creative result, we can have more creative conversations, different outcomes. Because even from a tower moment, a different outcome is, again, from a breakdown can come a breakthrough. And that's inevitable. What goes up must come down. And I keep thinking about, instead of spacing out like that, being, spacing out, like come back from space, come back from those higher places where you've been. And what are you bringing in instead of spacing out and checking out? Check in, put your hands on it, even if it's worrisome, even if there are different ideas on the table than what you expected. Come at it again with that curiosity. Know that we don't have all the answers, but together we can make magic out of that. A lightning moment is illuminating. So I'm going to leave it at that. Share this to somebody who you feel directly might need to hear it. That's another way of engaging. I'd love to hear in your comments how this is working out for you, what kind of energy, or how you're working with this, what your creativity is. Thank you for being here. We'll talk soon.